I never knew a simple knock on the door could shake me so deeply. It was 7 in the morning on a Saturday. I was still in my pajamas, holding my first cup of coffee, trying to process everything that had happened in the last few days. The video of my students praying in my classroom, the one where I was seen wiping away tears in the background, had spread everywhere. First a few thousand views, then hundreds of thousands. Then came the knocking, hard, impatient. I froze. I walked slowly to the side window, moved the curtain just enough to see outside, and my heart dropped. There was a news van parked in my driveway, a man with a big camera on his shoulder, a woman with perfect hair and a microphone in her hand, flipping through her notes, reporters at my door, at my home. I stepped back from the window, my heart pounding in my chest. 1,000 fears hit me at once. Did I do something wrong? Was I going to lose my job because I allowed my students to pray? Were people accusing me of breaking rules, of pushing religion in a public school? My mind went straight to the worst possible scenarios. My phone started ringing, an unknown number. I let it ring. Then it rang again. Then came the notifications, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even my personal email. Are you the teacher in the video? Why were you crying? Did they fire you? I sat down on the kitchen floor away from the windows and opened my phone. That's when the real shock hit me. It wasn't just the attention, it was the tone of the messages. They weren't full of hate like I had expected. They were full of hope. And a very specific kind of expectation. There were thousands of messages from people all over the world. Names I could barely pronounce. Muhammad from Egypt, Fatima from Indonesia, Yusuf from London, Aisha from Texas. And they were all asking me the same thing in different words. Sister, did you become Muslim? Have you taken your Shahada? When did you convert? Welcome to Islam. Are you officially Muslim now? I felt something heavy settle on my chest, a strange guilt, an embarrassment I couldn't quite explain. These people had watched my tears in that video, the tears that fell when I saw my students praying, and they decided that I must have already crossed over. They saw my emotion and called it faith. They saw a moment of deep human connection and labeled it as conversion. But that wasn't the truth. Not yet. The truth was more complicated. I was still the same woman I had been a month earlier, an American teacher who grew up in a fairly ordinary Christian family. We went to church mainly for holidays. I believed in God, but I never thought too deeply about him. Islam, to me, was something distant, something foreign, something mostly associated with bad news on TV. My tears that day in the classroom were real, but they were not the tears of someone who had already chosen a new religion. They were the tears of someone who had just witnessed something her soul couldn't ignore. The days passed, but the noise didn't die down. The reporters eventually gave up when I refused to come out, but the messages from strangers didn't stop. Every night after grading papers, I would sit on the couch, open my phone, and start reading. There was a message from a woman in Malaysia. I watched your video and I cried with you. I prayed for you today, that you will find the peace you saw in your students' faces. A message from a young man in Canada. I used to be an atheist, but seeing how moved you were made me wonder, if someone from a totally different background can feel this way about our prayer, maybe there's something true here that I ignored. I started to feel that I owed these people some honesty. I didn't want to lie to them or use their faith as some emotional story for the internet. I didn't want to say, yes, I'm Muslim now, just to make them happy. This wasn't a trend. This was about God, about my soul. But at the same time, I couldn't deny what was happening inside me. That moment in my classroom would not leave me alone. The way my students had lined up quietly side by side, the way they bowed down and put their foreheads on the ground, the absolute stillness in the room, the focus, the surrender, the peace on their faces. Over and over, the same questions echoed in my mind. What do they have that I don't? Why do they seem so grounded, so sure, so calm, while I, their older, more experienced teacher, feel lost so often? Is it this prayer? Is it this God they call Allah? Is it this book they keep mentioning? The Quran? After about 2 weeks, I realized I couldn't stay in this confusing middle space forever. I couldn't just be the teacher who cried in a viral video. I needed to understand why I cried. What exactly had touched me so deeply? One rainy Friday evening, I made a decision. I put on my long coat, grabbed my keys, and drove to the largest bookstore in the city. I walked past the fiction section, past the history and travel sections. I went straight to the section I had always ignored, religion. I stood there, staring at the shelves, pretending to browse casually, but inside I knew exactly what I was looking for. My eyes scanned the titles, searching for one word: Quran. I finally found it. Several copies in different colors and sizes. I hesitated. My heart was racing. It felt like I was about to cross an invisible line, like I was doing something forbidden, something that would change my life forever, even though I was just buying a book. I looked around. No one was watching me. No one cared. I reached out, my hand slightly shaking, and picked up a thick green volume with gold writing. The Noble Quran, English translation of the meanings. I held it like it was either a burning coal or a priceless treasure, maybe both. I walked to the cashier and placed it on the counter, along with two random cookbooks I didn't even need, as if I was trying to hide it. I was scared of being judged, even by a stranger who didn't know me. I paid, took the bag, and walked quickly to my car. Once inside, I placed the book on the passenger seat and just stared at it. I sat there in the parking lot for a long moment, the rain hitting the windshield, and finally whispered out loud, "Okay, God, if you are really there, and if this is really from you, then show me. I'm listening." When I got home, I made a cup of tea, turned off the TV, and for the first time in weeks, I turned my phone completely off. I wanted silence. I wanted this to be between me and God alone. I sat on my favorite couch, took a deep breath, and opened the book. I expected to find something harsh, something angry, something about war or punishment. That is what the media had conditioned me to expect for years. But that's not what I found. The very first words I read were, "In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful." The most gracious, the most merciful, mercy. Twice. In the very first line. I felt chills run down my spine. This was not the image of God I had been shown in the news. This was a God of mercy, of compassion. I kept reading. I found a chapter named Mary. Mary, the mother of Jesus. I was shocked. I read about her purity, her strength, the miracle of Jesus' birth, the way God defended her against accusations. Tears filled my eyes again. It felt strangely familiar and completely new at the same time. Then I came across a verse that shook me to my core. "Verily, in the remembrance of Allah, do hearts find rest." Hearts find rest. I read that line over and over again. Isn't that what I had been looking for my entire life? Rest, peace, an anchor. I had lived with anxiety, with fear of the future, with a constant sense of emptiness. And here, in one sentence, I found the promise of the one thing I could never hold on to: inner peace. That night, I read for hours. I didn't understand everything. Some verses were challenging. Some scared me. Some comforted me more than I can describe. But overall, the feeling was clear. I had been wandering in the dark, and suddenly someone handed me a light. So now I need to say this clearly. No, I have not officially converted to Islam yet. I have not gone to a mosque to say the Shahada in front of witnesses. I haven't changed my name. I don't wear a headscarf. I don't want to rush into a declaration just because the internet expects it, or because millions of people are watching. But I am no longer the same woman I was before that day in my classroom. Now, the Quran is on my table every day. I read a little bit each morning or each night. I highlight verses that touch my heart. I write down questions. I listen to lectures and explanations online. I watch videos of the call to prayer. And I feel an unexplainable calm just hearing it. I am not a Muslim yet, but I am not just curious anymore either. I am searching, seriously, honestly, deeply. My student's simple act of prayer opened a door in my heart that had been locked for decades. And now, light is slowly, gently coming through the cracks. So please don't rush me, don't label me, don't celebrate or condemn me before I even finish this journey. Just pray for me. Pray that if this path is truly the path to light, that He guides me completely. Pray that He removes my fears, answers my questions, and gives me the courage to follow the truth wherever it leads. Because for the first time in my life, I feel like I am not just living day to day. I feel like I am finally walking on a path to light.